Psychological warfare, or PSYWAR, was established as a subsection in the United States War Department during World War I. At the time, PSYWAR messaging was delivered in modified artillery shells and leaflet bombs dropped from Allied airplanes on enemy units on the Western Front. So effective was the Allied PSYWAR that German generals Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff conceded that the Allied PSYWAR effort had played a large part in devastating their troops' morale. Psychological warfare expanded during World War II with the Psychological Warfare Branch. They directed formations of tactical PSYWAR units, such as mobile radio broadcasting companies and broadcasting stations operating detachments. The PSYWAR effort dwarfed anything attempted before in history. After World War II, U.S. Army PSYWAR was nearly dismantled. In September of 1950, Brigadier General Robert A. McClure was named Chief of the Army's Psychological Warfare Division. Recognizing the need for the Army to retain PSYWAR units and capabilities, General McClure and his staff established the PSYWAR School at Fort Riley, Kansas. The school, now known as the U.S. Army John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School, moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina 2 years later, where it continues to provide doctrinal support, education, and training to this day. Although PSYWAR changed its name to Psychological Operations for many years and is now designated as Military Information Support Operations, or MISO, the fundamental mission of MISO remains the same since World War I, to convey selected information and indicators to foreign audiences to influence their emotion, motives, objective reasoning, and ultimately the behavior of foreign governments, organizations, groups, and individuals. The basic mission may have remained, but the methodology of conducting MISO has continuously evolved to changes in social, behavioral, and political environments by employing cutting-edge technologies and modern influence strategies. MISO begins with highly professional soldiers and Department of the Army civilians who understand the human domain and can perform in uncertain, arduous, and multidimensional environments. PSYOP assessment and selection measures a soldier's trainability and suitability in the military information support operations field. During this process, the soldier's core attributes are assessed to ensure his or her interpersonal skills, intellectual capacity, leadership potential, accountability, and physical capacity are suitable for special operations MISO missions and operational environments. Assessment is conducted over a 10-day period at Camp McCall, North Carolina. The course simulates the uncertain and arduous operational environment and assesses the candidate's ability to function across a range of intellectually challenging events. All candidates are psychologically assessed while under stress to include their own physical capacity through endurance events. These physical events are also scripted as stressors for academic events that measure the soldier's intellectual application and resilience. Through minimal communication with candidates, lack of sleep, and constant interruption of workflow, an individual's ability to perform and produce results is evaluated across the several mediums throughout the assessment process. Once selected, the soldier attends the Active Component PSYOP Qualification Course, a rigorous 43-week course at the U.S. Army JFK Special Warfare Center and School. The course is designed to initiate the candidates to the military information operational mind. U.S. non-commissioned and commissioned officers work with joint and allied officers during selected points of the course to enhance team learning. Conducted in 5 phases, the qualification course begins with language and cultural training as students spend 24 weeks learning a core foreign language. Each soldier must demonstrate a standard of language and cultural proficiency before moving to the next phase of training. During Phase 2, students are trained in the field on a variety of individual and collective tactics that are appropriate to Special Operations Forces. Phase 3 is the heart of the PSYOP qualification course, with instruction focusing upon the core MISO competencies and tasks, including MISO planning, target audience analysis, socio-cultural analysis, and the psychological effects of military operations. The ability to communicate and an in-depth understanding of the human dynamic are paramount in the education process of behavior change specialists. Students will polish their newly acquired skills at the cultural training exercise. This exercise engages the student with foreign-born role players, testing their ability to build rapport, utilize interpreters, and adapt to stressful, demanding operations. Students will also take part in an interagency planning exercise where they're divided into military information support teams and filtered into a U.S. Embassy environment, with actual Department of State personnel learning the internal dynamics of an embassy environment. Finally, successful students transition into Phase 4. Phase 4 consists of an extensive culmination exercise that incorporates MISO and associated cultural skills in 3 target languages into a realistic and ongoing unconventional warfare scenario. There are no quotas. graduates must possess advanced interpersonal skills, linguistic aptitude, spatial intelligence, and creativity. They must be mentally adept, culturally competent, and adaptive in order to conduct predictive analysis and influence the behavior of the target audience. Only those soldiers who meet the standard will be credentialed as PSYOP officers or NCOs within the Military Information Support Operations Command and assigned to their first operational unit. Commanded by a one-star general officer, the Military Information Support Operations Command is a subordinate command that directly reports to the United States Army Special Operations Command at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Comprised of 2 groups of 3 battalions each and a dissemination battalion in general support, the MESOC provides soldiers worldwide in support of special operations and conventional force contingencies. 5 battalions are aligned with geographic combatant commands' areas of responsibility, with regional companies providing linguistic and culturally attuned military information support teams in support of U.S. ambassadors and country teams. A 6th battalion comprised of tactical companies provides support to joint special operations task forces, other special operations, and conventional units during crisis and contingency operations. The MESOC is at the heart of a global MESO network that plans, synchronizes, and conducts full-spectrum inform and influence activities to support tactical, operational, and strategic influence campaigns, relying on a combination of over 2,700 special operations soldiers and civilians, representing specially skilled personnel, trained and educated to inform and influence foreign audiences across the globe. MESO activities can generally be broken down into 3 categories: MESO task forces, military information support teams, or MISTs, and tactical MESO. In a task force mission, MESO personnel support joint force commanders and focus upon theater-wide programs and operations. These missions are meant to induce change in behaviors, beliefs, and emotions in target audiences that can span over generations. Military information support teams work with U.S. embassies, non-governmental organizations, and foreign leaders in order to persuade and influence populations to help achieve U.S. objectives. Soldiers frequently interact with senior U.S. and foreign military and civilian leaders in a diplomatic setting. Tactical MESO teams deploy to austere locations across the globe with special operations or conventional forces to work on the ground with supported commanders to accomplish goals that, without MESO, would otherwise be impossible. Tactical teams focus on a much smaller area of operations, generally working with local leaders, business owners, and security forces to accomplish their objectives. MESO is one of the few capabilities that our nation has to influence the human domain in a non-lethal way in order to convince target audiences to take action favorable to the United States and its allies. The MESO soldier's job is to understand the target audience and the context within which they pursue their goals, and then design ingenious, innovative, and imaginative ways to influence select foreign audiences. In doing this, the overall result is to compel enemies to surrender without fighting. MESO conducts missions in every major region of the world, and on any given day, there are over 500 active-duty MESO soldiers deployed in 25 countries. MESO utilizes an array of specialized gear, including radio and television broadcasting equipment, loudspeaker systems, the product distribution system, a specifically designed global information architecture, as well as specialists capable of designing websites and TV shows for any genre. Special Operations MESO soldiers are the most advanced information operations soldiers in the world, supporting vital U.S. national interests globally.